Collecting observational data. In this presentation, you will review the benefits of using observational data collection systems and discuss the components of taking high-quality observational anecdotes. Accurate and complete data records are essential to ensure the trustworthiness of the information collected. These records can show progress, reveal patterns, and provide perspective. Anecdotal records are brief, qualitative accounts that document observations of student behavior. Recording information in a systematic way helps focus attention on each child's development. The discipline of documenting makes us better observers and teachers. There are many benefits of using observational data collection with young children. First of all, conducting observations allows teachers to find out what is unique about each child. The act of collecting data can help us begin to understand the children in our classrooms better and can even help us to build relationships with the children. Unlike testing, observational data collection can occur naturally throughout the day. It is also very flexible and can allow us to follow the child's lead, giving a more accurate picture of what the child can do in everyday situations. When we collect repeated observations over time, we are left with a clear picture of the child and rich information to use in our instructional planning. No observation is completely unbiased. All observations are impacted by the observer's previous experiences, temperament, interests, feelings, values, knowledge, and culture. Yet, we know that observational data collection is a powerful tool for early childhood educators. Our goal, then, should be to make our observations as objective as possible. Making observations objective does not have to be as difficult as long as you remember these two concepts. You should only record what you can see and what you hear. If you cannot see it and you cannot hear it, then you should not write it down. Let's take a look at some examples of observations. This is an example of an observation that is not well written. It contains a lot of judgment from the teacher and many items that you can neither see nor hear. Take a moment and see if you can find the portions of this observation that should be changed. Jason chooses to play with blocks because it is the only activity he likes to do. He does not enjoy anything else in the classroom. In this observation, the teacher stated because it's the only activity he likes to do, and he does not enjoy anything else. These are judgment statements. Even if the child will typically select a preferred activity, it does not mean that this is the only thing he likes to do. Also, we cannot see joy. The teacher must write down only what is happening in the classroom. Now, take a look at the objective version of what happened in the classroom. The teacher wrote down exactly what she saw and heard Jason doing. Here is the observational anecdote. The teacher said, "Jason, would you like to play with blocks or go to the science center?" Jason immediately responded, "I want to play with blocks." He got up from circle and walked quickly to the block area where Gustavo was sitting and joined Gustavo in play. Notice how this is quite different from the other observations that were collected. By writing down only what the teacher saw and heard, we have a better picture of what is going on in the classroom. When I read this observation, I think to myself, maybe Jason chose blocks because he prefers to play with blocks, or maybe Jason chose blocks because he prefers to play with Gustavo. As a teacher, I would not know the answer to this definitively unless I repeated this observation several times and was able to see a pattern emerge over time. It is not possible to make a distinction like this from only one observation. Let's take a moment to practice changing a poorly written observation into an anecdote that is more objective. Here is the observation. Sherry had a bad day today. She did not want to be at school, and she clearly needs more sleep. Not knowing what is going on in the classroom, I would ask myself, what made it a bad day? How do you know Sherry did not want to be at school? And what made you say Sherry needs more sleep? Observations that are written objectively in a way that documents that which can be seen and heard would address these questions. Now, let's take a moment and see if we can turn this scenario into an objective, well-written observation. Pause the presentation until you have finished writing down your response. What did you write down that addressed the bad day comment? A bad day could have been anything. It could have been Sherry getting hurt, hurting someone else, Sherry crying or misbehaving. The comment bad day does not tell me anything about Sherry. However, if any of these observations occurred repeatedly, I would have ideas for how to better teach Sherry and meet her learning needs. Pause the presentation and read some suggested anecdotal notes for this scenario. Think about the comment, did not want to be at school. How would we ever know that Sherry did not want to be at school? The only way we could really know this were true is if Sherry said it. Otherwise, it would be challenging to support that judgment. These objective observations might have triggered the teacher to write that comment. Now let's examine the comment, needs more sleep. What could be the observable behaviors that would indicate Sherry needed more sleep? Taking objective data like the observations listed here helps us gather a clear picture of what is going on in the classroom. As we have discussed, it is really important for observations to be objective, only what we see and hear. Having objective observations is the first step in collecting observational data. We also need to think about how, when, where, and with whom we are going to collect data. As the previous example demonstrated, we need to repeat our observations with students in order to show any type of pattern using multiple windows. These repeated observations that occur over time will show us whether or not a student is making progress. We also need to see if skills learned transfer to multiple settings and different classroom situations. Teachers should collect data not only in the classroom, but also on the playground, in the lunchroom, or at home, or other settings as the age of the child dictates. As we plan our lessons, we should always be thinking, how am I going to assess this skill? And what data am I going to collect? If Sherry throws an item at Art when she doesn't get her way, I'm going to want to start writing down when she is throwing items to look for a pattern. If Justin misses 2 problems on every math paper, I might want to keep note of which types of problems he is missing. Teachers must make a plan to collect data in the classroom. Finally, you need to have a system in place. How are you going to organize your notes? Who is going to take the data? When are you going to examine the data? The next slides will help provide ideas for how you can collect observational data. Some teachers write down observations in a separate notebook for each child in their classroom. The advantage of collecting observational data using this method is that the data is automatically organized by child. However, it can be challenging to have the notebook accessible when you need to write something down that a child has done. Mailing labels are another tool used by some to collect anecdotal data. To use this method, teachers place mailing labels on a clipboard and then write the observations on each label. The teacher can then transfer the label to the appropriate child's folder or portfolio. The advantages of this method are that it is simple to use in the moment. You can plan for who you will be collecting data from on that day, and you will not have some students slip through the cracks. Disadvantages are that labels can be expensive and they don't always give enough space. And the teacher has to remember to transfer the labels over to each child's file. A similar and more economical method can be implementing using index cards. The teacher can write the observation on the index card and then keep a file for each child. This method allows teachers to move the cards around and more easily categorize the observations. During specific classroom activities, teachers can use a class list to make comments next to each child's name. This is a great method to use during class discussions or other group activities. It not only provides a space for the teacher to write down what the student has done, but it is also a great way to make sure the teacher is checking in with every student. For those of us who like technology, there are several different tools we can utilize. You can take a picture of an activity. That picture then sparks your memory to write down what was going on during the moment. It also provides visual evidence. Technology allows information to be recorded in an unstructured manner. There are many digital apps that can be used on your smartphone or tablet that will allow you to share your observations via email, record audio, embed photos, etc. The type of tool really is not as important as the data you collect. Teachers need to find systems and methods that work and just collect that data. While observational data collection is an invaluable tool with young children, it does have challenges. It can be hard to be objective when a teacher is personally invested in a student's well-being. Collecting data takes time, a lot of organization, and planning. Also, in order for observations to have maximum impact, they must be repeated over time. And finally, it can just be hard to find the time to write down observations while teachers are so busy instructing in the classroom. No matter what the challenges, the benefits of having this data to make decisions is well worth the time invested in its collection. Please remember these key points when you think about observational data collection. The data must be objective. You should only be documenting what you can see and hear. In order to be effective, the observations must be repeated over time. Teachers need to develop a system that works for them, and then they need to implement that system. And most importantly, we have to use our observational data to drive our instruction.